Hello there, my name is Cheyenne Quinn. I am a student at the Unity College. Today I'll be discussing the pros and cons of sexual reproduction. What is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is a process by which two organisms of different genders, typically male and female, combine their genetic material to create offspring with unique genetic traits. This process involves the fusion of gametes, specialized cells that carry half the genetic information of an organism, during fertilization to create a zygote, which develops into a new individual. Sexual reproduction plays a crucial role in the diversity and evolution of species, allowing for the creation of a new genetic combinations and adaptations to changing environmental conditions. What are the advantages of sexual reproduction? Genetic variation, increased immune system function, evolutionary adaptation, elimination of harmful mutations, and increased reproductive success. Genetic variation. Sexual reproduction increases genetic variation within a population. This means that offspring inherit a unique combination of genetic material from both parents, making them better equipped to adapt to changing environments, pests, predators, and diseases. Increased immune system functions. Sexual reproduction allows for the selection of favorable genetic traits, including those relating to immune system function. Offspring reproduce through sexual reproduction, thus tend to have better immune system than those produced asexually. Evolutionary adaptation. Sexual reproduction allows organisms to adapt faster to changing environmental conditions by creating a diverse population that can continuously evolve over time. Eliminating of harmful mutations. Sexual reproduction increases the likelihood of detecting and eliminating harmful mutations present in an individual's genetic makeup. This helps to maintain high levels of genetic diversity and prevent the accumulation of harmful genetic mutations that can cause diseases. Increased reproductive success. Sexual reproduction allows organisms to participate and reproductive strategies that result into increased fitness and biological success. By choosing mates with desirable traits, individuals can produce offsprings with more favorable characteristics, leading a greater reproductive success over time. One example where sexual reproduction has been beneficial is in the case of the Mexican tetera. This fish species has adapted to living in two different kinds of habitats, rivers and caves. The river-dwelling fish have eyes and are able to see their surroundings, while the cave-dwelling fish have lost their eyes due to the lack of light. Through sexual reproduction, hybrids are produced between the river and cave-dwelling fish. These hybrids have eyes, but also possess the ability to survive in the dark cave environment. The hybridization has allowed the Mexican tetera to expand its range and occupy both the river and cave habitats, providing them with increased genetic diversity and adaptability. What are the disadvantages of sexual reproduction? Requires two parents, risks of sexually transmitted infections, resource intensive, slower reproductive rate, and again, genetic variation. It requires two parents. Sexual reproduction requires a male and a female to come together to produce offspring, which limits the potential for reproduction in some situations. Risk of a sexually transmitted infection, STIs, which sexual reproduction carries the risk of contracting STIs, such as HIV, gonorrhea, and syphilis, which can cause serious health consequences. Resource intensive. Sexual reproduction requires a lot of energy and resources from both parents, including the development of complex reproductive organs and the production of gametes. Slower reproductive rate. Sexual reproduction takes longer to produce offspring compared to an asexual reproduction, which can limit the number of offspring produced in a given period. Genetic variation. Sexual reproduction introduces genetic variation among offspring, which can be disadvantageous in certain circumstances, such as in a stable environment where particular traits are favored. One specific example where sexual reproduction has been detrimental is with the freshwater snail, which is an invasive species in Europe. This snail can reproduce both sexually and asexually, but it is introduced ranged in Europe. Sexual reproduction has had negative consequences. In the New Zealand, the snail's native range, asexual reproduction is the predominant mode and only occasionally sexual reproduction occurs. However, in Europe, sexual reproduction has become more common, and this has resulted into the snail producing fewer available offspring. This is because when the snails reproduce sexually, they have to find a suitable mate, which is not always in the introduced range. In addition, the snails have been found to mate with individuals that are genetically incompatible, which results into lower fitness offsprings that are less able to survive. Overall, the shift towards sexual reproduction in the freshwater snail has been determined to the species' fitness it is introduced in range, and this highlights the potential negative consequences of sexual reproduction in an invasive species. And thank you again for listening.